You think you work in a family, that there's care, loyalty, belonging. It doesn't. There's a contract you never read, and you're being charged for it every day. You arrive earlier than you should. You leave later than you'd like. You answer messages outside of work hours. You accept tasks that aren't yours. You avoid saying no, because you don't want to disappoint, because we're a family. You've heard this in meetings, in motivational speeches, in HR messages. You see colleagues being called brothers, leaders being called fathers, and little by little you start acting as if it were true. You feel guilty when you want to rest. You feel ungrateful when you want more money. You feel like a traitor when you think about leaving. And then you continue, giving more, accepting more, molding yourself more, without realizing what's happening. This isn't culture, it's strategy. The language of family doesn't exist to include you. It exists to trap you. Because a company doesn't need you to be loyal. It needs you to be useful. But usefulness has limits. Loyalty doesn't exist. So they trade one for the other, and you accept it. Real families function based on unconditional bonds. You're not discarded for performing poorly at home. Companies function based on exchange, value for value, time for money, results for permanence. These two systems are incompatible. But when you mix the two, something interesting happens. You start acting emotionally within a system that is purely rational, and that puts you at a disadvantage. Because the game remains logical, only you change the rules in your head. When they say, "We are a family," they are altering your perception of cost. You start accepting unpaid overtime, abusive demands, lack of recognition, because in your mind, you are no longer being exploited. You are helping, and helping isn't something you charge for. It isn't something you measure. It isn't something you question. That's the point. The company doesn't need to force you. It just needs to convince you. And the word family is the perfect tool, because it activates guilt. It activates belonging. It activates fear of rejection, all at the same time. And when these three things are active, you stop negotiating. You work more than you should, but you grow less than you could. You deliver beyond what was agreed upon, but you receive exactly the minimum necessary to continue. Because the system doesn't reward emotional effort, it rewards measurable results. And you're investing in the wrong asset. While you try to be part of the family, other people are playing the real game. They negotiate, they position themselves, they change companies when it makes sense. They don't confuse commitment with value, and therefore they advance. While you remain, not for lack of ability, but for excessive, misdirected loyalty. You start to feel stagnation, constant exhaustion, silent frustration. But you continue, because leaving feels like betrayal. And that's the deepest trap. You're not trapped by necessity. You're trapped by narrative. There's a difference between performance and perception. You believe that being dedicated, available, and trustworthy will make you stand out. But that's invisible in the system. What really counts is visibility, positioning, replaceability. If you're seen as someone who always accepts everything, you're not valued. You're exploitable. Because you don't create tension, you absorb tension. And power systems don't reward those who absorb. They reward those who influence. The idea of family pushes you to the passive side of the game. You become someone who keeps the system running, but never someone who changes the system. And those who don't change, don't rise. The problem isn't that you don't work hard enough. It's that you're working within the wrong logic. You think you're building belonging, but you're only increasing your invisible burden. You think you're being loyal, but you're giving up power. You think you're being recognized, but you're being normalized. You weren't hired to be family. You were hired to deliver value. And that changes everything. Because value can be measured. It can be negotiated. It can be exchanged. Family can't. When you understand this, you stop seeking emotional approval, and you start seeking strategic positioning. You don't need to confront anyone or rebel against the system. You just need to stop playing the wrong game. Separate the work relationship from the emotional bond. Observe what is truly being rewarded, and adjust your behavior silently. Less automatic availability, more clarity of value, less guilt, more awareness, no drama, no announcements, just internal change. The truth is simple. Companies are not families, and they never have been. But as long as you believe they are, you will continue to expect something that was never promised. It's not that they are directly deceiving you, it's that you are misinterpreting it. And in this game, the problem isn't that you were exploited, it's that you dedicated yourself completely.